Hey there, friends. I am excited as always. I'm introducing you today to my friend Christina Ray, who is a real estate agent out of Denver, Colorado with Live, Laugh, Denver Real Estate. And she has a really amazing story that I think is going to be inspiring and just awesome to listen to. So, Christina got her real estate license in the summer of 2016 with a 4-week-old, no less. And by the time her little girl was 8 weeks old, she was full steam ahead and had her first closing within a month after going full time into real estate. And then going into 2017, she ended up the rookie of the year in Denver for 2017, closing 22 transactions in her first full year in real estate, which is amazing, as you all know. And already year to date, it's July 10th today, and she's already got 18 closed and definitely anticipates surpassing her first full year in real estate. And she does all this while having an awesome time as a mom and a wife and an active member of her community and a great friend. So I think we all have a lot to learn from Christina. And so with no further ado, I'm going to let her take it from here. Christina, we always start the same way. I just want you to share a little bit about your story with anyone who's listening. Tell us about, first of all, what prompted you to get into real estate in 2016 while you were, I'm sure, pregnant, taking the test or whatever. I want to know everything.
Yeah.
And then we'll just kind of go from there and dig in a little bit deeper after that.
Yes. Well, thanks for having me, Erin. I'm really excited to do the podcast. This is my first ever, so this is very exciting. So to dive right in, like you said, I absolutely was pregnant when I was getting my license. My backstory is I was in property management for 12 years, and I had already had one daughter, and I just needed something different, something where I had a little bit more flexibility with a schedule, but, and also something that, you know, I could do that had unlimited, opportunities, because I felt like I was a little trapped in property management. There wasn't much more to go up from where I was at, because I was in a corporate level position. So, enter in January of 2016. That's when I think I was about 5-6 months pregnant. And I took the plunge. I started taking classes, got licensed in June. I had my daughter in May, so she was 4 weeks old. And then I joined Live, Laugh, Denver in July 2016, and really just wanted to hit the ground running. So, you know, I had a lot of determination, a lot of motivation. I was so excited to have my license because, like I said, it had been something that I wanted to do for a very long time. So I feel like it kind of came natural that I was just ready for it. And, you know, I was super excited to start. So
awesome. So a couple questions for you. When you joined Live, Laugh, Denver, how did you go about making that decision? I'm sure a lot of folks struggle with finding the right home. What was important to you in knowing that that was the right home for you? Because I know you're really happy there today still.
Yes. Yeah. So that's another really great question. I actually interviewed with a couple of different brokerages. I think sometimes, you know, agents, whether they've taken classes, they kind of just hop on with someone, or maybe they've known someone and they get into it. But I was really strategic on who I wanted to work with. Nothing wrong with the larger companies, but I really felt as a new agent, I needed kind of that boutique feel. I knew I needed a really amazing mentor. And I was introduced to Lindsay, who's the managing broker of Live, Laugh, Denver, through Emily, who I worked with in property management. It's always usually through someone you know or something, you know, there's that connection. So I met with Lindsay and immediately knew that she was going to be the one that had the time, that had the resources. You know, she was an outstanding agent herself. I really agreed with everything that she said and how she was running Live, Laugh, Denver. It really was more like a family feel. And a lot of my clients will say this to this day. It's like, once you've, you know, gone through a transaction, you're just a part of our family. You're a Live, Laugh, Denver family member. And so I had that feeling immediately with Lindsay. And, you know, I really appreciated everything she said. She wanted to train me right. She was ethical. She was honest. And, you know, most importantly, she was on the same path as I was, as, you know, providing a true service to our clients. Like, the client was the reason she was doing this, and that aligned with me completely.
Yes, 100%. And I met Lindsay when she first went full-time into real estate, and I saw that with her, and I see that with the culture that she's building there with the company, is that it's definitely founded on the importance of relationships and serving those relationships above and beyond the transaction, not just trying to turn and burn or churn and burn and close deals. So that's awesome. So just out of curiosity then, I mean, I think I've never been a real estate agent, obviously, I'm a lender, but I have seen a lot of folks get into real estate, get their license, and bounce around a lot in their first few years until they find the right home. And a lot of that has to do with what you mentioned was mentorship. And what kind of resources did you receive? I mean, I think I'm always curious, how does somebody go from 0 to 60 overnight? Because I always joke I was not rookie of the year, not even close. It took me to figure out how to navigate this business and make it sustainable. So how much of your quick and early success was a result of resources and tools and systems that you brought with you from property management? And how much would you attribute that to finding the right home and having the right leadership?
Yeah, well, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. I definitely think that there was many things in property management that prepared me for my career as a realtor. But I would say, I would say about 50-50. I mean, having a mentor that's a great mentor, I think is critical for any new agent. I remember on some of my first transactions, like on my first listing, I was getting contracts and I'm correcting them. I'm like, wait a second, that's not right. That's not right. And I'm like, okay, I think I was trained right, or I was able to kind of fake it till I make it. I would submit offers, for my buyers, and I acted like I'd been doing this for 10 years, because I didn't want the agents to be like, oh, there's this newbie. But, what I appreciated about Lindsay is she has a lot of great systems in place, meaning to make it kind of seamless. We're huge on communication and how we communicate with our clients. So having, templates and those types of things were super helpful. It was, it saved time because you have obviously the outline of what you want to go through, but you can obviously, cater it to specific clients. But I think just having that set of tools, like having the templates and everything, was extremely helpful. I just think that it was definitely a combination of both.
So talking about what you mentioned earlier, that you kind of fake it till you make it and just act like you've been doing this for 15 years. Did you ever run into any clients that wanted to know your level of experience, or do you think that the sincere intention to help people and love them and be there for them will trump experience any day of the week? Because I think that some folks are always worried about how long they've been in the business and that it's going to hold them back. And I don't necessarily think it has to hold you back if you really operate from a place of like the heart, passion, and excitement and enthusiasm. You know what I mean?
Yes. No, it's so funny because you're just like all the things of how I feel like I started. I absolutely lacked some sort of a confidence when I went into it because I knew I hadn't done this before. But one of the things, and I do think that for some people, it is important, how many deals you've done or how much experience you have. However, the very first clients that I had, I'll obviously never forget. I won't forget any of my clients, but I'll never forget them because they took the chance on me. And I think what helped was I said, because they knew I was new. And I said, you know what? Yeah, I knew, but guess what? I have this incredible support team. I have my managing broker who's done, X number of deals. She's absolutely incredible. I have a transaction coordinator that's going to be making sure that, our files stay compliant, that I'm doing everything right. And I need to prove myself. So let me work for you and show you what I can do. And they loved that. They're like, that sounds great. And I kind of sold it as you're getting 3 agents for the price of 1, because I have Lindsay, I had my transaction coordinator. So I really sold myself in that way. And I just told them, I am so excited. I am doing what I've always wanted to do. And I will prove to you that it's going to be the right decision hiring me.
Well, it's funny you say that because I will never forget my first and my second client. And the first one was a friend who trusted me. And luckily, we're still friends and we've done many transactions since. And ironically, my second client, we became instant friends. And she was just up here last Sunday with her daughters visiting in Winter Park for the day. So it's definitely, I'm always grateful to those first few folks that let us cut our teeth in this business, right?
Absolutely, 100%. And they were so gracious and so nice and so sweet. And like I said, they're forever, like they hold a very special place in my heart.
Yeah. Well, I want to go back to something you mentioned earlier because you mentioned when you were working full-time in property management that you needed a little bit more flexibility and time freedom because at the end of the day, when you're in a 9 to 5 job, you're in a 9 to 5 job. And sometimes when you're in property management, it might be 8 to 6 or 7 to 6. But I also know that there might be folks listening that maybe chuckle at the thought of flexibility and time freedom once you start hitting your stride in real estate, because it's hard to find that balance between, serving all of your clients while still having all the time to take care of your family and be present with them. So are there any boundaries that you've been able to successfully implement to make sure that you feel that when you're with your kids, you're present when you're with your business? Or is it just one big mesh of overlapping? I mean, how do you manage it? Because I know everyone's different there. Yeah.
Well, I would say I'm probably not the poster child for balancing things as far as, I like to always be available for my clients, so granted, if it's 10:30 at night and it's, it's not a conversation that has to be had right at that moment, I probably would already be asleep, so I wouldn't answer. But what I have found more so is that as much as I'd like to say there's just this consistent line of clients, it's not that way. So there's times where like slow periods. So it's during those slow periods that I really try and soak up the time, with my kids, or, taking a weekend away, since I've been touring all weekend for the past, couple months. So it's times like that where I just learn to really appreciate times and not freak out. If it's not busy, I actually had this conversation with Lindsay yesterday, busy doesn't equal success. So if I'm not busy, I can't freak out because my numbers are still great. And, there is times where people, they're doing their things, they're traveling, they're having fun. So I've just learned to take the calmer times and really live up those times, so that when it is crazy, I'm not feeling so guilty about, not spending as much time at the house or, that sort of thing. There are definitely rocks within my schedule, things that I just will not miss. And it's very much focused around my kids. And, I'm a mom first, and I'm just lucky that I get to be a mom, but also do something that I'm so incredibly passionate about, and just, I guess, intermingle them. There's one thing I was telling a friend of mine is that a lot of my clients or friends, they have kids. So, whether we're in a play date, usually real estate comes up in some way. And so I get to kind of do the best of both worlds, which is always fun too.
Definitely. And it's interesting what you said about the rocks in the schedule, because on an earlier podcast episode with my friend Jennifer Hughes, we talked a lot about carving out that time to feed your soul. And that looks different for everyone, whether you're a parent or a spouse or you're a single person. Everybody needs to be putting rocks in their schedule. And I think that sometimes when we don't have a required shut off, that might be children, or it might be keeping our relationship going or whatever, it can be easier to just allow work to be 24/7. But if you don't put those rocks in your schedule to feed your soul first, you're not going to be giving the best version of yourself to your clients either.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So, well, let's just dig in a little bit deeper, because I'm curious, you mentioned that you came with some tools from your background in property management. And so talk to us a little bit about what do your days and your weeks look like? What does winning the day or winning the week look like in terms of how do you go about generating business, really? I mean, how did you get started?
So when I originally started in real estate, it was funny because I would look at what other agents were doing, and, I'm like, oh, they're successful and they're doing this, so I'm going to try that. And, oh, this one does this, so I'm going to try that. So I struggled at the beginning on what I wanted to do, because I was just giving 10% to a bunch of different things, because I thought that's how you became a successful agent. And finally just sat down and, really honed in on what my goals were. And then I said, I had talked to Lindsay, and she works, specifically by referral, which I love because I'm not a cold caller. That's not the type of person I am. And so I sat down with her and she said, just give it a try. Try working by referral, give it a few months, see what happens to your business. And that's when I saw my business take off. I was working by referral. I had a couple clients, that I'd helped. So then they were able to refer those clients. But it really came down to, I don't pay for really any marketing. I don't do Zillow. I don't do any of that. And I really just focused on working by referral and, being the best I can be for the people that do want to work with me. And then ultimately it just leads to, them having a conversation with someone else who, is looking for a house and saying, oh, you've got to talk to Christina, you know, so that's kind of how it's happened. As far as, you know, winning the week, it looks different every week for me. That's one of the other cool things that I love about this business. You don't know what's going to happen. You know, if you're out showing houses and you go under contract, then you know you're going to be having an inspection soon. If you're listing, you've got photos and appraisal. And I love to, you know, get in touch with the people that I have worked with, and, you know, go to dinner or lunch with them and catch up with them and just be involved in their lives genuinely, you know, not just because I've helped them in real estate, but because I genuinely care and I want to know what's going on in their life. So it really kind of varies, I would say, day to day. I always do try to start in the morning on my email, making sure, you know, if there's anything that needs to be done, I'm a huge list maker. So I prioritize, you know, things, how they need to be done according to, you know, the clients that are under contract and so forth. But yeah, every day I would say it definitely starts on my email. Not like when I first wake up, but that's where my business day starts, is, you know, going through my email and then just really mapping out the day, having a list in place so that I don't get too sidetracked. And that's what I found that's worked for me the most.
Awesome. Well, I know that Lindsay's a follower of the Buffini system. Are you also somebody who kind of organizes your database in a specific way, or do you have anything that you do in particular that you feel like you do really well in terms of systems or organization, or do you just kind of follow along organically, make sure you're touching a certain number of people per week with calls, or how do you typically go about it?
Yeah, I definitely follow the Buffini system too, because he's basically, you know, work by referral and live the life that you're living, or love the life that you're living. So I love that whole concept. So I definitely have a CRM through Buffini. I'm very specific on, I'm a type A personality. So mine is, you know, very organized, yes, in different sections, and, you know, whether it's lenders and home inspectors and that sort of thing, and then clients, you know, based on, you know, how I've helped them and so forth. But I feel like it's kind of, I don't really have a specific system on how I reach out. I want to make sure that my clients at least hear from me once a month, personally. So they do get 2 emails a month from me. So that's a way to keep them in the forefront. But I do want them to hear from me personally. I love birthdays. I think birthdays are such an amazing time to get in touch with my clients, because I'm not reaching out to try and, you know, get business from them. I think that that's one of the things at the beginning too, that I was super nervous about getting into this, because I'm like, I don't want everyone to think that I just want to sell them real estate, or I'm just looking, you know, for my next transaction or something. It's, you know, I was very, very worrisome about that, you know, but then slowly after getting into it, I realized that's not the problem, because I'm not sitting there calling them saying, are you going to sell your house? Is it time to sell your house? You know, it just kind of organically came together. But I feel like this is a long-winded answer to winning the week. It's just mine is so different.
No, you're hitting upon something that is a fear that I hear all the time from real estate agents and lenders, which is this idea that just keeping in touch, it feels like there's an agenda because I'm being told to do that in order to grow my business. And as soon as you feel like you're picking up the phone to grow your business, and not because you're sincerely interested in what's going on with the other person, all of a sudden the block shows up and you're just paralyzed looking at your phone. And then you think of a million other things to do to keep yourself from actually getting on the phone. But the reality is, I also love that Buffini system, and it's what got me outside my comfort zone in my 3rd year in the business. And I loved it because what I found was I want to get good grades. So if I'm being told to make 5 calls, I want to make 5 calls.
Yes.
High water. And what ended up happening was the phone calls were fun. It was like, you're just calling your friends. You're just calling to say, how was your weekend, or how were the holidays, or how was your birthday, or whatever. And then you have the call, like, why am I stressing about this? It doesn't have to have an agenda behind it. You can just honestly be in communication with your friends and family, and you will be on the forefront of their mind. They will know that when someone talks about real estate, they're going to think of you because you just called them 2 days ago to talk about the holidays.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's crazy. So as you've grown your business this year, and you've already done 18 and it's only July, and you did 22 last year, How have you seen your life and your time change? I mean, have you found yourself working smarter, not harder in certain areas and just getting hyper efficient? Do you time block? Like, how do you make it all work as your volume has spiked?
Yeah, no, I think that you hit I think it was the very first thing that you said. I definitely found that there were ways to be more efficient, and it all came, I think it just hit me too. After I had done some transactions, it didn't take me an hour to write a contract anymore. Like I could write a contract a lot quicker. So at the beginning, it definitely took me more time because I was still a newbie. I was still learning. And now I just don't have to spend as much time doing the things that, I had to do. I think if my volume got, a lot higher, I would probably have to look into, some type of an assistant to help with things. But at this time, I feel everything's very manageable. I do think that there's times, like I said, as much as it'd be great if it was just this even line, it's the ups and downs of, the year and stuff. So it's really just, if I have to wake up an hour or two earlier one day, my kids are still sleeping, my husband's still sleeping, my house is quiet and I can get things done, then that's what I do. Or if I have to stay up late one night, working on certain things, then that's what I do. But I definitely think even though I've had the spike in my business, I still feel relatively, I feel sane because I now know more about what I'm doing and I'm not just learning, trying to, make everything work and as if I knew what I was still doing.
So that actually makes me think of something that I love to do. So I think our jobs by design require us to do a lot of tasks in any given day. And so
Yeah.
we write all these tasks out and it looks like a mountain. And one of the things that I've taught my team members to do and something I do for myself is I make the list of what needs to get accomplished this week and then break it down into day by day. And then next to the
Yep.
task, I just write how long I think it should take. And I'm, overestimate a little bit. So
Sure.
if I'm going to be reviewing someone's income documentation and a pre-approval, like you said, it may have taken me an hour, however many years ago, and now I could probably do it in 30 minutes, but it won't take 30 minutes if I allow myself to multitask. If I answer the phone in the middle of it, or I take an email or I respond to a text, it may drag out to 90 minutes. But if I can just shut everything off and focus on that one task at hand, it won't take me more than 30 minutes. And as soon as you map out your day that way, you realize that your to-do list may only be 2.5 hours of actual work, or it might only be 4.5 hours, but it's definitely not 12, And so
Sure.
I think that's an important, I don't know, just a little experiment to try if you're feeling overwhelmed
Yeah.
with the to-do list. So are you always an early riser, or is that something new?
No, I would say I've definitely always been an early riser. I think when you have kids, you just kind of naturally become an early riser. Because my kids are old enough now to where my oldest will pick the little one out of her crib and they come crawling in my room, like waking us up in the morning. So, but I would always have characterized myself as a morning person. I think that's one thing that I also see is sometimes agents don't roll into the office until like 11 or 12. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've already gotten so much done for the day. So I would definitely categorize myself as more of a morning person than a night owl. And I do feel like I get my best work done in the morning.
Did you ever read The Miracle Morning for Real Estate Agents?
I did. Yeah, that was the very first real estate book that I read.
Well, I'm just asking because it's funny when you mentioned that, that's why I was wondering, because I think I read that book in early 2015 when I felt my life was kind of crazy and in the weeds. We had gone from doing, I think, 18 million in volume and 14 to like 37 million and 15.
Oh, wow.
And with, one team member, I mean, it was crazy. And I had 2 little kids and I was pulling my hair out, feeling like a psychopath. And then somebody recommended The Miracle Morning. And I remember thinking to myself, how could I possibly wake up any earlier when I already have these rascals as my alarm clock? And then I just thought, you know what, I'll give it a shot. So I started waking up earlier before my kids woke up. And I'm telling you, it changed my life completely. I mean, just waking up and having that cup of coffee before, like planning out my day so that I can be in control of my day and not let the day control me from the second someone else is my alarm clock. You know what I mean? As opposed to myself deciding it's time to get up. And
yes, 100%.
my stress dissipated. And people were like, how are you possibly waking up earlier when you have little kids? There's no way I can do that. I'm like, well, there is a way you can do it. Well, maybe you should try it because it actually works.
Yes, no, and I think you're absolutely right. It was, I exactly what you said. I felt like my morning was chaotic all the time because I was waking up immediately. It's like my kids were starving. They hadn't eaten in years. They're so hungry. So it's like you're grabbing their breakfast. Half the time, I never had time to even get my breakfast. So once I started that and getting up before the rest of the house, I felt a huge shift just in myself, like I felt much better, and it was a great thing. I highly recommend reading that for, especially like at the beginning, but I still like to read the Miracle Morning, every, like once a year at least, just to kind of remind myself, of what's important. I think it's a really great book.
Oh yeah. And every time I find myself highly stressed out, I look at my life and I realize, okay, I have not been doing that routine. And so I'm just going to recommit to it. And within a few
Yep.
days, I'm feeling completely level and calm and just ready to conquer the day. And I mean, don't you feel like there's a huge difference to when you map out your day? And granted, our days are always, I mean, they're always unpredictable. There's always changes
Sure.
to our schedule. We can't avoid that. But if you map it out and then you feel like at the end of the day, you feel like you owned the day instead of letting the day own you.
Yeah.
And the productivity is so much higher that way.
Yeah, 100%. And I just think that, especially when you have it on paper, like you said, you're like, okay, this isn't, this is totally doable. I can do this and everything. So like I said, lists are my savior. I am a list maker forever. I have a list. I think it's perfect for me in the way that I do my business for sure, and my personal life.
So do you have a planner that you use that you love?
Yeah, I hate electronic calendars, and I don't like I don't like my iPhone. Like, it's just not for me. I need to write stuff down. So I use the Erin Condren planner. It's like, I'm a kid in a candy store in January, I'm just selecting my basic, designing it and everything. So I have to write things down, and I kind of double write things down. So I have my planner, but then I also have a notebook of, my week and what I do.
I'm the same way. I carry around 2 books. I have a journal where I write my goals, what I'm grateful for, kind of vision, and then I take that idea, the big picture, and I chunk it down into the planner so I have a clear plan. I like the productivity planner as one, and actually a real estate agent gave me a gift of one called Commit 30, and it's awesome.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, so you map out your big goal for the month, and then each month, and then you map out like 6 specific action steps you're going to take to get you closer to that goal. And then, you kind of just go, and it's all visual. There's even unicorn stickers, which obviously I love. It's awesome. Well, good. Well, I'm really excited for you. So where do you see yourself a year from now or 5 years from now? I mean, what's in store for you? You're having such organic and amazing growth. So how do you see the future?
I see my future in real estate for the rest of my life. I'm a lifer now, so I see this as my forever thing. I think I will still be selling real estate in my 90s because I won't want to retire. Classes, be able to stay up with the times when I'm 90 so that I can still do it. But I think just year over year, I want to grow myself and just try and, help as many people as possible. I think it's just so important that, they have somebody that they trust. They have somebody that genuinely wants to help in every aspect. I love when I kind of first got started, people are like, are you going to focus on sellers or buyers or certain areas, or what's going to be your niche? What are you going to do? And I said, I'm going to do everything. I love buyers. I love sellers. I will help someone that's purchasing $80,000 or that's purchasing multi-million-dollar. I don't care. I just want to be of service to them. And I think that as long as I continue to keep going that path, I'm going to be successful. And, the more people that I can help, they'll see that and they'll know where my heart is. I truly come from a place of service. I'm working on getting my employing broker's license, not because I'm starting my own or anything. I'm very happy at Live Laugh Denver. I just think that it's one more thing that's gonna, that more learning. I'm always learning. I think education is really important. So, I hope to continue to grow, and year over year, I definitely want to just continue to, up my production and serve as many people as I can, and have fun while I'm doing it.
I love it. So if someone wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way to reach you? Oh man, that was an interruption I had not anticipated, but hopefully we'll just gloss right over that. So I thought I had silenced that, but anyhow, that's where I was before. This is reality. So how can people get in touch with you if they want to reach you, Christina?
Absolutely. They can call me anytime, 720-275-3438, or reach out via email, Christina, so CHRISTINA @livelaughdenver.com.
Awesome. Well, thanks for taking the time out of your schedule to be on the show, and congratulations again on being Rookie of the Year. I'm really excited for you, and I can't wait to see what the future holds.
Thanks, Erin. It's always so great talking to you.
All right. Well, have a great day, everyone.
You too.